Good morning, everyone. Looking at what's happening, I don't know. I think I'll just play the recording from yesterday. I don't know what else to say. Nothing's moving. Jeez, but market seems to be waiting for something, some economic report, some shoe to drop. Um, Digesting just Friday's move up to see if it has any legs to go further or whether it's going to drop here to some degree. Uh, my hopes, as I said yesterday, was that the markets wouldn't get very far and we'd get a pullback and get a retest of this low, maybe a little lower. We'll see how it happens, but that would just be a much better pattern than one that just comes off of a V-type reversal. Last week I mentioned the gap down and the gap up, and that being, kind of a bullish island reversal with only 2 bars. It was only 2 bars. It's not like one of these that forms over the course of several weeks, which is super bullish. So prices come up into this area. Couldn't even get through the 20, not even yesterday. So clearly, buyers are apprehensive about being more aggressive and want the dip, but it didn't dip. And so that in of itself is a little bullish price action that it didn't dip. It's kind of the essence of a 1, 2, 3 continuation pattern, but it's got to continue. And then, the obvious place would be up here, maybe near 4,000 and then whatever. You see it just stalled at this little minute support area, which is insignificant compared to the move down and the bottoming over a few days in a retest. So we go through the process day to day. That's the factory work, as we call it. So 390 inside of yesterday's range, we're in a little nothing range. So things are barely moving right now. See this little double top there. Not until June option expiration, which is I think it's going to be dead for a while. I don't know. It just takes some news event, to get things moving one way or the other, or we'll see. Again, just nothing happening here. S&Ps, you can see just a little tiny range. All right, a week or so going sideways here. Well, if that is the case, it could be a situation like that what occurred here. That time runs out, and then whatever the impetus is, yeah, Friday could spark something. Thursday there's an inflation report too, McGraw. Some other kind of report, I think, on Thursday. Yeah. And we all know there's inflation, but that report that's coming Thursday is what was last month. So how could it possibly be good? It should be bad and but expected. So I don't know. We'll see. The idea recommendation of an iron condor yesterday was perfect. Things just went nowhere. So however you played it, or intraday, I suggested a one as this rallied up here, went out of the money, that went to nothing. So again, chart of the week last week, what's working in this market? Credit spreads. And that's what it is pretty much, or intraday trades, little scalper trades, especially with this going nowhere thing. So internals are right up there. It ain't going to take much to get them both lined up in the upper bands and extreme here. This is never a pinpoint accurate measurement of extreme or the market having a turning point, but you can see it works reasonably well when they line up, calling short-term highs and lows. So not quite there yet, but almost. And I don't suspect anything's going to be any different as we look at other markets. They're just drifting here. The Dow is doing the same, it's holding up. a little higher, higher low there, was stronger. So oil being beaten down and having a climactic type of buy setup with this, breakdown bar failure that we covered yesterday. And this is at 75. It's moving up there nicely. And, we looked at a bunch of stocks yesterday afternoon within these sectors. So here's something I was looking at. And all the years that I've been doing this, and we look at charts and multiple time frames and everything that we cover in MT Live, but it has to come back to some type of fundamentals, which we don't look at, or whatever, intermarket relationships, but intermarket relationships we look at. But look at this pattern here and how this comes down to the prior low. It's in an area where buyers are going to step up and it's extended, right? And it's an oil sector. And look at this. And it's like, how do you distinguish or come to a conclusion that a pattern such as this, and I don't think you can, I'm just throwing the thought out there, and you get one that's similar, right, that collapses and comes down to a prior low and has a breakdown failure, and this one just rips right up to the prior high. I don't, from my perspective, not possible just from the charts to say, hey, this pattern should do this, because the depth of retracement doesn't support that. But Merck just ripped to the upside. Now, there's probably some news around the company, or some, obviously some drug. I don't know. They're getting into biotechs. Biotech did great last week, but just a thought. I thought I'd share. I was looking at some things last night, like, wow, look at how Merck went up there, and could we see that kind of a move in the oil sector? So the angle of retracement is XOP. I was looking at XLE before. XLE is much more diverse, where this is more focused, and there, so, and we'll see what this does. In any event, it's a pattern that suggests it should move up, and clearly it is. And all right, Bitcoin doing nothing. Yeah. Is the weekly better in Merck? Well, it wasn't, up. It prior high, or greater than 100% retracement, and it came down deep, and it just rips up. And so XLE was kind of, well, this has been an uptrend for a long time, right? This is the only sector that's up on the year. Yet, it came down real hard in a similar way, and down near the prior low. This wasn't a slowing momentum type of scenario like Merck with the higher high, but they both came down hard and hit major support. And so, we'll see what this does. In any event, look, if this is a starting point for a bias that this is going to pop up, and as you can see, it is, right? So it's a nice little pop. And so it was making the turn, and, it looked like it was going to happen here. And then for good measure, one breakdown and then the inside bar. So this is a great pattern historically for a bounce. And as you can see, it is. Right? So Bitcoin dead in the water. All right. I think, look, if this doesn't get off of this area here pretty soon, the psychology of the patterns are that, look, this gets extended to the downside, buyers step up, and it doesn't go up. Who's going to blink? Who's going to hit the bid first, right? And so it's like talking to your buddy. It's like, I'm not selling, right? And all of a sudden it's like, hey, he can do whatever he wants. I'm selling. And the thing starts to, waterfall to the downside as everybody starts, it ain't holding. And, that's the psychology of patterns. And then we look to the left and say, what's going to stop this thing from going down? And there's nothing. So it's either going to bounce here a bit. It's either going to break or go lower. And it certainly could do something like the Merck or the XLE thing where, you get a fake out break to the downside and it rips up. Kind of what happened here, right? But it just didn't go anywhere. So keep an eye on that. Crude oil bouncing this morning. Of course, that's helping energy stocks. Silver doing absolutely nothing. Dead in the water. Waiting for inflation or what? Gold doing absolutely nothing. Just taking a look at the euro there. All right. Just trying to roll back over. The dollar's not giving it up. This is all the way down here at the prior lows. And so this is doing absolutely nothing. The pound is doing nothing and starting to roll back over again within the downtrend. And so that's not good, for the markets. And, the flavor of yesterday and today is, maybe just nothing's going to happen. So back to whatever credit spreads could happen, energy stocks, bounces here going on, credit spreads, we'll put credit spreads on energy stocks if there's juice, and, keep the powder dry, waiting for some event to move this market. Can you predict the hard drop in any of those? Well, we always get clues, right? SPX is, every day, thank goodness, which let me take a look at that. But I think anything with premium above and below is going to be fine. But because I don't think anything's going to move much today. So look, I thought this was going to get, the way it was going here was going to get to 100, right? And that would be, a sticking point. And, as the momentum slowed here, how do we read that? The highs getting closer together, and how do we know it's a high? Well, it begins to at least form a reversal like that and start to come in. So, this starts diving, and crude oil clearly has an influence on that. And this started diving. Now, when we look at crude oil and we look at, hey, what are energy stocks doing? And a ETF like XLE or XOP or XES. Well, if you go back and look at, way back here where they doing absolutely nothing for a while and energy was going up, sometimes the correlation's pretty good. And sometimes it's just like, what the hell's going on with energy stocks that oil's going up? But, back here was like, okay, inflation. And if you looked at ags started coming down, copper was going down for a while, then energy starts pulling back, and it's like, oh, inflation scare is over, yada yada. And the markets, institutions are just in the same boat as any of us, trying to figure it out. They just got more money to throw around, and as you can see, they're all right. All these institutions are, getting into crude oil. It's the only thing in a bull market. And so when the turn comes, they're all hitting it at the same time. So, all right, SPX below 38.50. That's pretty tight, but this is a tricky thing because there's nothing below here. So to stay within that range, looking at Friday's bar, it certainly should. I prefer any, time to get some kind of move to fade where the premium pops. But so we'll see if we do get some movement, but any kind of a move down toward this level of 38.80 to be able to get further away. Yes. And above 4,010, absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. So, all right, to you, Dan. Why is it a no-brainer? Because I don't believe this market can go anywhere near up there today without some major news story. But to go down to 38.50, that wouldn't take very much. But if it starts diving down there and the premiums pop, then we'll look at that.
Good morning. Yeah, so yesterday we said about our bias, we're just totally neutral into the close, and we said it's going to depend where we gap. And this is now fitting my scenario of 30-minute high. We're still in a trading range here, which is good. I don't like big gaps that are untradeable. So yeah, oil in the spotlight today. It was yesterday also, but I was going to wait for today to go over the high, and it's gapping over it. So those who held overnight are getting rewarded. I wrote down a couple here Greg gave yesterday. We'll look at them in real time. But the oil ETFs, a couple individual ones. Buffett keeps pounding the table on his Oxy. Cruise lines I mentioned, we shorted some puts, but I see 1, 2, 3s all over the place, and cruise ships and jets, but they're just bounces and downtrends is all. So these are not getting married. If they trigger 1 to 3 day trades, and then banks also. Look at JPM, that's a beautiful 1, 2, 3 right there, and it hasn't triggered yet, so good. I'm going to put that in a window. A BAC, I did get an alarm. That was in the weekend letter. So JPM I like a lot. I'd prefer ideally this to go sideways here and then break out yesterday's high after 10 a.m. 1 second. All right. Yeah, no, yeah. I said 1 second. Yeah. All right, so yeah, JPM looks fantastic. I was saying let it go sideways here, and then over yesterday's high. So those are 4 sectors. Oil or Climos, and 1, 2, 3s, and banks, cruise ships, jets, and I'll also look at leisure with jets and cruise ships. So look at hotels, SMH. Yeah, semis are ready for bounce. Yeah, we're in Texan. Back here, see, my alarm went off. So that's a 30-minute high directional, but it's also a put spread. A cat. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, we're getting bounces all. Sure, McGraw, if it's for Friday, absolutely. Yeah. Let me put it down here. JetBlue still going after save. And look, that's a beautiful 15-minute chart. So 30-minute high, that's a day trade. Looks fantastic. Let's see, I wrote down microchip here. This looks fantastic, McGraw. Put spread and 30-minute high. I'm going to put that in a window. There's a new semi play for a bounce. We had NVIDIA didn't trigger yesterday. We did enter SMH put spread. You can add. It looks great. You can add yesterday's high. I guess saw this thing. It's a Palladium or whatever. PPLT has a nice gap up. When we get time, 10 a.m. Let's scan some stocks in that sector. Walgreens had some news here, sold off pre-market. That could be a call spread over yesterday's high. So save is up. People wanting them. The ARC lady was on. ARC lady, and she said that she reduced her exposure in this thing. You know, meaning concentrating on fewer stocks. She said coin is one of her top holdings. But she said Hood is not. Hood is not one of her top holdings anymore. She said 2%. Look under the hood in IBB. Well, it's too extended. It's a problem. We're in XBI in our ETF trader. XBI looks a tad better to me. Boy, look at that beautiful weekly on XBI. So it's extended, but we're in it. All right, so ARC Lady, SMH, we know about. NVIDIA got sloppy. eBay got a downgrade. 43 to 30. There's no pattern now. Actually, that could be McGraw. That could be a condor for Friday. Yesterday's high, last week's low. Jeffrey's down, not downgraded, earnings. No great pattern. Roiv, I think had earnings. Bottoming pattern, that was a SPAC. Every time you see sideways, $10, that's a SPAC. EPAC was up, now it's down. I don't know what the news was. Yeah, Nike, I have bottom right here. SNX, sell setup, no pattern. Nike, it was up last night. 107. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a bias right now, so I got to come back to it. It was a weekly retest. So I don't know which way to trade it. So Greg mentioned HAL yesterday. That looks good. Oxy, XOP. Let's look at either long stock or long debit spread or short puts. Morgan was a 1, 2, 3. $80. I just don't know how much we're going to squeeze out of these. So I like JPM better for a new trade. Here's a bottoming pattern, gapping up to 5. We'll come back to that. Yeah, I got Sequinome right here, or whatever it's called. Yeah, I still like it. That'd be 30-minute high. WTI here, another oil stock. That looks good. Little guy. Price of a cheeseburger, or maybe just regular burger these days. Inflation. Myrna, McGraw, you mentioned. So there's Nike, Sequinome, CVX, 30-minute high, Citra. These are all oil stocks Greg mentioned yesterday. I like this one, Devon, just because it's at this prior low. So I'll put that in a window. Devon. Netflix. It's just in a coma, but we know that's fine with FANG stock. So if I do something like that, McGraw, then I want to see what the Qs are going to do. And the Qs are a sell setup here and kind of dead. So if the Qs start selling off, I wouldn't want to be in a FANG stock. So that's how I would approach a dead stock like that. So MRO, another bottoming pattern, 24 and change. I like the other ones better. Marriott, 1, 2, 3. That has some, that is a look, that's a beautiful 15-minute base. So that I like for a day trade. I'll put that in the window. Marriott. LI, we were trying to sell a call spread yesterday and we didn't get filled. And I had it in a window here and all of a sudden I saw it selling off pre-market. I have no idea why. So that still looks lower. That's a price void. This thing's ripping far from the 20. ALK, another airline, 1, 2, 3. Jets, 1, 2, 3. Citigroup, 1, 2, 3. That looks fantastic too for a day trade. It's not too extended. Went sideways. So a lot of 1, 2, 3s and Climos here. BAC. EPD was another oil Climo that made the turn and a retest. So that has a big old void. CCL. So 1, 2, 3. It's lagging here, being down 5 cents, but over these highs. Tree, I said I'm going to watch this for a week or 2 or 3. It's so beat up. I want to see when and if it can make a turn. AMD, another semi. 1, 2, 3. I mean, there's so many of these. All right, MU kind of advanced already. We always got our Mr. and Coin we're watching. Tesla down. The FANGs, Microsoft selling off here pre-market. So tick opening at 1300. But Microsoft's a sell set up in reversal and weak pre-market. This 30-minute low short idea. That's a short watch. Hey, McGraw, our H up alarm. We had a nice entry, McGraw and H. All right, CQ selling off here, and I got the indication from the FANGs pre-market into the open. They were all getting weak. IYT, AAL.